and the front row for the Great American Race.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
If you're fortunate enough to sit on the pole for the Daytona 500, it is a big, big deal.
Nobody's holding back now.
Oh, Nelly, hold on to him, boys. The fourth different driver to put a number 3 on the pole.
Third generation star, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
It's a new day in Daytona. After a wild night, a new way of qualifying for the Daytona 500. You'll see it live today on a cool, sunny day. 49 drivers hit the track, 43 a week from today in the Great American Race, including two-time Daytona 500 winner Matt Kenseth, and the man of the moment after what he accomplished last night. Fox Sports proud to present Daytona 500 qualifying as we come to you live from Daytona International Speedway, the calm and cool of the drivers who hit speeds of 200 miles per hour and a lot more in just a bit. We're at the infield ready for first time ever group qualifying at the Daytona 500. By the end of today, we'll know who's on the front row for that 57th running of the Great American Race. The Hall of Famer, Daytona 500 winner, of course, Darrell Waltrip, two-time Daytona 500
Shouldn't you be out there?
Michael Waltrip.
Getting ready to go.
Oh, okay.
And in a moment, Kenny Wallace and I, we have attended many Daytona 500s.
Yes,
and
we
it's nice
have.
to have you with us on the panel throughout the afternoon. Now, we're all in suits. You're in your fire suit because you'll be in that 55 Toyota. So give us a sense of what the drivers are going through at this moment, since it's the first time we've had this at the Daytona 500.
We got all the Toyota drivers together to talk about our plan for qualifying, and we determined we have a plan. We're going to try to stick together and draft up on other cars. That plan could go out the window in a hurry, though. You know, it's only 5 minutes. If you wait around too long, you won't be able to get out on the track in time to get a couple of good laps. There's a lot of nervous people in the Toyota camp about how this is going to play out.
And here's how
business attire, right?
That's right. And the format, here's how it works. He mentioned 5 minutes. Two groups will run 5 minutes each. Fastest 24 advance to the next round. Then the fastest 12 to the final round. The fastest 2 on the front row. And let's get a reaction from some of the drivers as they approach us, what they think of this format.
Knockout qualifying is probably one of the best things. It's brought a whole new level of excitement.
3 rounds. It doesn't matter if you're good in the first round because you got to get through 2 more.
You have to not just go make your laps, you got to be able to adapt to changes on the track.
It's extremely intense. You know, there's a lot of strategy that goes into it.
Some are going really fast trying to make their flying lap. Some of them are just trying to get back to the back to try to draft off the field again.
But you got to watch the clock as well.
Nobody really knows exactly what to do to try to get the pole at these places. So you're going to see a lot of guys being real aggressive.
It's another opportunity to hurt a race car, to tear something up.
There's very little control of your destiny. A lot of luck involved.
Let's get to the punchline and let's figure out who's going to be on the pole.
They're smiling now, but what would you do?
Well, you saw in that interview a lot of opinions about what may or may not happen. We really don't know. But one thing we do know, you hit the nail on the head. This is a historical day. We've never qualified at Daytona like this before. So we're going to see something we've never seen before. And the drivers don't know what to expect, and we don't either.
And let me put this in simple terms. You mean to tell me these drivers and teams are going to take their Daytona 500 car and they're going to go out and knock out qualifying?
Don't use the word knockout. They're going to go out and try to qualify.
That's what scares me. They might knock that car out. This is going to be, sounds dangerous to me.
Right, and as we saw some of that actually last night. Nobody will be eliminated from the Daytona 500, but at least we'll get a sense of where guys are going. And the kickoff to Speed Weeks, the Sprint Unlimited, had a fast start and a frenzied finish with crashes in between on this same track last night. 25 drivers going 75 laps. And these are the same drivers you're going to see in the Daytona 500, their first on-track competition of 2015. And it got crazy. 20 of the 25 drivers involved in crashes, 4 cautions, all due to multi-car crashes. Martin Truex Jr. led the most laps. Tempers flared. Daytona 500 winner Matt Kenseth, a 2-timer, was the winner here and is with our Jamie Little.
And a bold move and some epic driving by you earned your first Sprint Unlimited win. And you told me in Victory Lane, Matt, that anytime you win here at Daytona, it's a big deal. So what would a Daytona 500 pole mean to you?
And don't forget about the luck. We had some good luck last night, too, and some good spotting. So, yeah, I mean, this qualifying, honestly, is some of the most stressful we have all year. You know, I know I've said this, but the slowest car could literally be on a pole and vice versa. So it's all about who goes when and where you're positioned and how you're catching the draft and all that. So it's stressful. You know, we've been talking about a plan for 2 days. I walked out of the trailer. I'm like, all right, what's the plan? We still don't know what it is. So, you know, everybody wants to be on the front row of the Daytona 500, but more importantly, we want to get through this thing in one piece and get racing in the 150s and hopefully have a good showing on Thursday.
So it sounds like a roll the dice, and hopefully a little luck is on Matt Kenseth's side. Guys.
Thanks, Jamie and Matt. A Daytona 500 winner has never been in a Toyota. In fact, we haven't had a Toyota sit on the pole for the Daytona 500 in this their 9th year of cup racing. So could Matt be that guy?
He's certainly odds-on favor after that performance last night. But what I love is what Matt said. Darrell, Kenny, we're analysts. We're supposed to sit here and tell America what's going to happen when they throw the green flag for qualifying. How are we supposed to do that? The race car drivers don't know. They've been planning for this qualifying session for a month, and they're still trying to figure out what it's going to take to be the fastest cat today.
I think the one thing to keep an eye on is the clock, because we only have 5 minutes in each session, so you cannot lollygag around. You can't run down there at the end of pit road and sit there and wait. It takes a minute from the time you leave pit road to get around to the green flag. So there's got to be at least a minute left on the clock in that 5-minute clock.
You need 2 laps.
Well, once you take the green, you're good to go. You're going to get your lap in, but you can't mess around in these sessions.
Yeah, and as a driver, if I'm you, Mikey, and I've got a big run, we've drafted a lot together. If I got a big run, do I drag the brake? Do I stay behind Matt Kenseth? What happens? Do you decide I got to pull out because I'm going to be a half a second quicker? What do? Do you follow your teammate or do you take the run?
Watch for the Fords and the Chevys and the Toyotas to try to group together. That's the only thing I know for sure. Each manufacturer will be loyal to each other, at least in the beginning.
And Denny Hamlin, some drivers relying on what they experienced at Talladega when they did this restrictor plate, but he said that was a fiasco, chaos, and I don't know what to expect today, kind of what you're echoing. We didn't expect last night. Drivers started out like, okay, well, it's a little testy, there's a few tempers, we're bumping each other, and then by the end of the night, it was good old Joey Logano and our defending NASCAR champ in the 4-car there, Kevin Harvick, a little brush at the end when neither one of them were going to win it, and you saw what happened afterwards, and they got out. This was Valentine's Day, no kiss cam on those two. They just got close to discuss things. Some things never change.
Joey's just telling Kevin, I was trying to help you, and Kevin said, I don't need your kind of help. You ran me right into the wall. But that was the case. Joey had a really fast car. Kevin's car was all dinged up. Joey was giving him a push, and he pushed him right into the wall.
The best quote of the night was from Jamie McMurray. When Biffle said, well, McMurray's car was a little loose in front of me, and McMurray said, they're always loose when the rear wheels are jacked up off the ground. That was the best quote of the night for me.
And Darrell, one thing I noticed is they keep picking on Logano year after year, but every year Joey Logano gets an inch taller. Pretty soon these drivers are going to meet their match. He's going to be looking down on them.
Well, you know what he does? He used to run from them. Now he runs to them.
Exactly.
And I love Twitter. Logano tweeted, sucks that the 4 got in the fence. That was not part of the plan, was trying to push to the front. Harvick tweeted, sucks that the 22 drove us straight into the fence into the end.
A lot of sucks on Valentine's Day.
Well, for a great night of racing.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
For a beautiful day.
You used to suck up at this track.
Where's the love?
I got up in the morning. I felt good.
Where's the love? Well, we know who wears the fire suit on this panel, and they actually joked about that at the awards banquet. It was nice that Harvick and Logano and their families could joke about that. All right, today setting the front row for the running of the Daytona 500. We're going to get to this unique qualifying in a moment, but coming up on this show, we sat down and chatted with Brian France, NASCAR CEO and chairman, about a number of things. Brad Keselowski will join us from down on the track. He'll be rolling out in the first group. He always has an interesting view of things. And behind the scenes, the way Fox treats Media Day, where we talk to all the drivers, you'll get a closer look, get to know them a little bit better on how we do it and how we set you up for the entire season. We're glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox. With a new championship format and a new champion, NASCAR enters 2015 with plenty of momentum, but also plenty of challenges. Brian France has been this sport's CEO and chairman since September of 2003, and overlooking the Speedway this week, we sat down to have a talk. Brian, thanks again for doing this. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, good to be here.
The Chase, NASCAR's playoff determining a champion in its first year, was a success. Popular, fans, drivers, remains unchanged for the second year. What did you like most about what it accomplished?
It accomplished everything we set out for it to do, starting with changing the emphasis on winning. I think you're going to see this year a better understanding by the teams about what that means, about getting that win early. We've got the right balance now of consistency and winning.
Did it concern you that a driver with no wins could actually be the champion?
No, not at all. That's part of sports in general. You can have teams with a losing record make it into the playoffs, but get hot.
Kurt Busch, a champion in your sport, has been accused of assault. No charges yet. What is your current position on that, Brian?
Well, we're waiting to see how the criminal justice system works. They haven't finished that investigation. When they do, we'll be following very quickly thereafter with the appropriate response.
If he is charged with assault, obviously you wouldn't have a driver still driving with those allegations, those charges.
Well, it's fair to say it'd be a very serious consequence if that happens. You know, you want to be thorough and being transparent and reasonably quick about resolving it.
Jeff Gordon is having his last full-time season. You must have some thoughts on his contribution to NASCAR over his career.
Sure. I was really happy that he's going to do it on his terms. He's been at it about the time I've been in the sport myself. And so we've sort of grown up together, and he's going to have a special place in NASCAR on a permanent basis.
Bill France, your grandfather, Bill France Jr., your father, lifers in the sport. Brian, for you, where do you see yourself and NASCAR in the next 10 to 15 years?
Well, you know, I've always said I've got to make a contribution that's, you know, worthy of me being here and being in this position. We've done a lot of things to help guide NASCAR through some tough times. This is a family business. I intend to always have a role in NASCAR, and the extent I can make the biggest contribution is where I'm going to be.
With the Chase format, we saw the win and you're in aggressiveness right away early in the season last year, and the Chase an aggressive move by NASCAR's boss.
I think he's a good leader, and I tell you why. Because he's got great hindsight. He's been here a long time, so he can look back and see where we've been. He's got great foresight. He sees where we need to go. He keeps changing, not afraid to make changes, whether it's to the cars, the format, how we win a champion, how you crown a champion, and then he has good insight. He knows how to marry those two things together. So I think he's doing a great job. I mean, the sport's pretty healthy, if you ask me.
What I love most, you talked about win early and you're in, but you had to win late to be the champion. Kevin Harvick had to run the table the last two races to edge out Ryan Newman by a couple of car lengths for our championship last year. That's how you settle one in NASCAR.
What I like about Brian France and the new rules for the Chase for the championship is, and Darrell, Michael, we spent all last year telling NASCAR how wrong they were and how this is going to go wrong. And Darrell, you're right. They got foresight, because in the end, when we went to Miami, they were 100%, not 100%, 110% right. They did a good job.
And the new qualifying format here for the Daytona 500, aggressive and a change we're adjusting to. Brad Keselowski once said, you know you're doing something right in this sport if you're racing the establishment and you're making them upset. That's a good way to describe the driver of the two-car, the past champion, winner of 6 races last year in the Chase last year, standing by with Matt Yoka.
Chris, walking through the garage area this morning, I heard probably more game plans than Brad Keselowski has Twitter followers. So when it all boils down to it, is it going to come down to the guy who makes the smartest call audible-wise?
I don't know. I really don't know what we're going to see here, Matt. It's that's why you got to watch. I'm glad you're watching here on Fox. But I think what you're going to see is it's going to take a lot of luck and maybe a tiny bit of skill. And like I was telling you earlier, probably like playing rock, paper, scissors. There's a little bit of skill involved, but not much. But that's not to take away whoever gets the pole today. It's a huge accomplishment, and it's still Daytona. We all want to win, and we all want to win every event we can, whether it's a race or qualifying.
He's chasing his first start on the front row here for the 500. And Chris, I always lost at rock, paper, scissors.
Brad Keselowski, is he NASCAR's now #1 bad boy?
Well, I would say that he reminds me of a guy named Darrell Waltrip. Cocky, brash, but
pretty good.
But he's a champion and he's a winner. So yes, I would nickname him Jaws by Darrell Waltrip. Reminds me of you.
He's pretty opinionated, like Some guys have been, yeah.
And successful. Hey, by the way, why is today a big day for Carl Edwards, obviously in his 19 Toyota with Joe Gibbs Racing?
No points. And in the history of the world, Joe Gibbs would bring cars down here on single-car runs, could get on the pole and definitely qualify for the race. But there's so many unknowns, Chris. We've talked about it. And Carl doesn't have any points, no safety net to fall back on. He's a nervous man.
All right, so
That's
it's
a great point, Michael.
Knockout qualifying in a sense, and we're going to knock you guys out. Daryl, you're going to head up to the booth. Not literally.
Again?
Just figuratively. And you're going to head to the track, and Kenny and I are going to stay here to get you ready.
You're telling me that I knocked out a 3-time champion?
Hey, now, come on, man.
A major
I
upset.
love you.
Man.
Anything can happen at the Daytona 500. Long shots can have great success. Woo. All right. Thanks for coming by. Good luck out there. We'll see you up in the booth.
Nice business, bro.
We're glad you're watching. It's Pole Day, Daytona 500 live from Daytona Beach. NASCAR on Fox continues in a moment. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything they learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what rolls into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. As we get you ready, there is the son of defending NASCAR champ, Kevin Harvick. That's Keelan. Looks like he has a Dale Earnhardt Jr. model car. He's excited for the first time ever Daytona 500 group qualifying. We're going to see how it unfolds here on a cool sunny day. So let's take you trackside for opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the Daytona Beach Fire Department Honor Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Motor Racing Outreach Chaplain Monty Self offers our invocation.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. Father, we thank you for the privilege of living in a country that, Lord, allows us to do and congregate here and enjoy these events. Father, we thank you for all the staff and the sponsors who have worked so hard and provided for today's and this week's events. Father, we ask now that you bless, Lord, all the teams, all the drivers, the fans, Lord, all the safety personnel and the officials, Lord, safety, Lord, as today's qualifying commences. Father, we thank you for all the many blessings you give us and pray that all we do here today would honor you. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Port Orange, Florida native Shayna Harper.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's hear it for Shayna Harper and her performance of it.
All 49 drivers out for our national anthem. The first group getting ready to roll in just a moment. We should see speeds of 200 miles per hour putting somebody on the pole for the Daytona 500.
Welcome back to Daytona Beach, Florida. We don't have a grid walk today, but we have something I think you're going to enjoy even more. It's an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of the Fox NASCAR hangar shoot.
Good to see you. And find the camera. And go.
Go, Jib.
You're a veteran of the Fox NASCAR hangar shoot. It's fun, isn't it? It's a lot of fun.
Every year they get better and better.
It's pretty impressive studio they got here.
It takes a team of 60 people 3 days to convert this airplane hangar into 7 individualized studios. This year, things aren't exactly what they appear to be. Hey there.
Hey, Michael. Careful, there's a car right here.
Oh, watch the car.
You make me nervous when you walk in.
This is the one room. It's just digitally mapped. This year, for the first time ever, there are 7 NASCAR Sprint Cup races on Fox Sports 1.
Kind of a big deal for us. We couldn't go for the 1 and the 9, so they just got the 1. That's cool.
They tell me this stuff is called truss. They also tell me there's enough of it to stretch the entire length of pit road, plus enough cable to wrap around Daytona's 2.5-mile track twice. Add 12 cameras, 365 lighting fixtures, and 18,000 square feet of drape, and you've got Fox Sports' biggest production of the year.
That airport hangar right there, it's right near the track. Daytona, if you've been here, the airport, everything's close by where you can enjoy the race. We're about to enjoy some knockout qualifying, group qualifying at the Daytona 5 or for the Daytona 500 with Kenny, Chris, as Michael's ready to roll as he is headed out. We certainly know some of the names, the big names we'll be hearing. What about some of the long shots in qualifying where this is so much more important?
Chris, I'm going to be looking for underdogs. Guys like David Gilliland, David Reagan. This is front row motorsports driver. There's David Reagan. He's a winner at Talladega. He knows how to get it done. Now, what he needs to do, and his teammate, David Gilliland, these two drivers want to slide up in with the big boys. Will the big teams allow these two drivers to get up in there? And if these two drivers can get up in there with the big powerhouse teams, they can upset and they can lock themselves in the Daytona 500.
Brad Keselowski ready to head Group 1 as they're getting ready to roll. We've had 12 different Daytona 500 pole sitters in the last 12 years. Austin Dillon last year. Who will it be this year? Michael Waltrip getting ready, a 2-time Daytona 500 winner. In this group qualifying, his first experience in this area. A week from today, we will crown the Daytona 500 champion, 57th running of the Great American Race. Let's welcome in the guys who will take you through that and through today's unique qualifying. It's Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy. Mike?
Thank you, Chris. We have seen knockout group qualifying in NASCAR at every racetrack, at every race, except the Daytona 500. So 2 things I think we do know. 1, the fastest car here probably will not win the pole. And 2, when they wave the green flag and start the clock for the first session, or for any session, nobody's going to want to go out first, Larry. Why not?
Yeah, unlike when we used to just have single car qualifying where it was all about the speed of your race car, the way this group qualifying works, if you can take that car that doesn't quite have the speed and you can nestle in line with a bunch of fast race cars, your speed is going to equal their speed. So therefore, you're going to look like you've got a really fast race car. It's going to be all about timing. The most important guy on the team, aside from my driver today, could be that spotter. Yes. He's going to be like air traffic control. As Darrell pointed out in the Hollywood Hotel, your biggest competition might be that 5-minute clock.
Darrell, it seems the one driver who will have the best advantage is the driver leading one group who can see another group in front of him and suck up in that draft. But how do you get in that position?
Yeah, it's the darndest thing I've ever seen. I talked to a bunch of these guys this morning, and you won't believe all the different strategies they have. The one common denominator, though, is teams, manufacturers working together. Whether it's the Chevy, Ford, or Toyota teams, they all agree that they're going to try to work with each other in their manufacturing group. So that's the one common denominator. The other thing is everything's on the table, and we don't know what's going to happen, just like you are. I have no idea what's going to happen. We're getting ready to find out.
Cars getting ready to roll. You heard earlier, Carl Edwards has no points. That's because his team is brand new. Jamie Little with Carl Edwards.
Well, Carl Edwards finds himself in a precarious situation. He's not locked in. You have to race your way in or, well, just qualify on good time today. So what is it like being in this position? It's been a while for you.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, really. We've got a new team, new sponsor with Aris, and we're hoping that everything goes really well. And we got a good man watching over us today. We lost Wayman Adcock yesterday. He's a great guy and a great family, and we're all thinking of him. And hopefully we can have a good run for him and a good run for this team. We do not want to be in that position to miss the race or have a big problem because of something in the 150. So a lot of pressure today.
After his performance last night, so far so good. He finished third.
Thanks, Jamie. Everybody wants to crowd in, to get in position, to get in the right lane. It's like a toll booth at the end of pit road. Nobody wanted to be first. Everybody wants to be in that second group.
They're running over each other down there, trying to get into the group they want to. I mean, that was the darndest thing I've already seen something I've never seen before. These guys wrecking each other on pit road, trying to get out to qualify.
Looked like Black Friday at the mall, and everybody trying to be first.
Yep.
Now, it looks like Kevin Harvick in that 4 car, our reigning champion, he is going to be the lead driver pulling this line along. What we've seen, it's hard to be the quickest driver when you're pulling the pack along.
Now, let's explain the time that is being shown here in the upper right. That is the time to the end of the session. And when the session ends, for your lap to count, you must have begun your lap before the session ends. You can go on and complete it, but you're only allowed to go past the session ending flag one time.
Yeah, I mean, that was the mad rush right there. The clock's ticking. And I mean, it's ticking, and it's ticking fast, because you're not going to get a lot of laps in 5 minutes.
Half the cars are on track right now. Group 1A. The other half will go out in Group 1B, and the fastest 24 overall will advance. Look right there at that number 44, trying to move up and trying to catch that second group. Reed Sorensen could really be in a great spot there.
He is in a great spot, Mike. He's got pushers behind him. He's got the draft of all these cars here in front of him. This guy right here could be the man on this run.
And Reed Sorensen has no points, has no chance to make the 500 except on speed or race his way in on Thursday. He's on that gotta-go list.
It's going to be interesting to see, Mike Larry, just what that car's doing, if it's got enough speed to get the effects of the draft, the benefit of the draft.
Another car in a great spot is Austin Dillon, last year's pole sitter. He's leading the third group of cars around. And as we saw Sorensen go by, he has some right rear fender damage. That fender sticking out beyond the rear wheel is going to act like a parachute and slow him down.
I think that happened on pit road, Mike. I think when they're fighting to get out, I think that happened to him down on pit road.
Now, Joey Logano in that 22 car, he has went to the top of the pylon right now with less than 2 minutes to go in this group session right here.
In that second pack, they're trying to get past Reed Sorensen, whose car looks a bit wounded from contact.
Yeah, he's got the whole right rear quarter panel sticking out there, and that's got to be killing the speed of that car. We're down to 1.5 minutes here, so we're running. I mean, it's not going to be many more laps.
Denny Hamlin goes to the top of the chart with Austin Dillon.
Got one sideways.
And around turn 1 in the wall. And that is Reed Sorensen.
I think it was that quarter panel and the damage he had to the rear of that car that probably caused that accident.
Clint Boyer had been trying to get past Sorensen, to no avail.
And this group had really started getting dicey. You could start to see it as they were coming off turn 4 down the front straightaway.
I just wonder, Larry, if that flapping right rear quarter panel maybe cut his right rear tire down, and that's what created this problem.
Bobby Labonte driving for Frank Stoddard, past series champion. He's involved, and the red flag will stop the clock in this session.
This is the fear that these guys all had with this kind of qualifying, that there would be some cars that would get torn up by guys trying to make moves that they shouldn't really be making, but they're desperate to make them.
Boyer had been trying to pass Sorensen because that fender, it's all damaged now, but it was billowing out in the wind, slowing his car down. But wow. When they came out on track, because of all the jostling for position on pit road, somebody got into Reed Sorensen. And right there, that right rear gets a shot from Justin Allgaier, 51.
Oh my gosh. Something, the car turned before it got to the corner. I'm not sure if, I don't know. I'd have to look at it again.
Well, let's try a different angle here.
Well, Denny Hamlin at 11 had a bunch of damage too.
Head down toward turn 1 here. Running really tight, close together. Ooh, it looked like Boyer started to go the inside and then shot back to the right, and when he did, he clipped the back of the 44 of Sorensen.
Hard to tell from that angle if perhaps Boyer got turned by the car behind him. It's
kind of hard to tell. These two guys were mad at each other leaving pit road.
Chris Neville?
Mike, that's right. Clint Boyer on the radio since they left pit road, just saying how he had to get around that 44 car and he couldn't. Reed Sorensen really blocking him around the racetrack, and he was telling the team, hey, that right rear fender pushed out. It's like a parachute, and the team telling him, you're losing that pack in front of him. You've got to get around him.
Involved in the crash, Boyer, Sorensen, the 23 of J.J. Yaley, the 32 of Bobby Labonte, and the 11 of Denny Hamlin. You just saw Yaley out of his car.
And Mike, the interesting thing, Denny Hamlin is quickest right now in that 11 car.
Doesn't look like he has a lot of damage, Larry. Let's go back and look when the 44 and the 15 left pit road. I think that's where this started before we even got going. You watch the 15 and the 44, they're coming into this picture right here, right there.
Yeah, actually, that's Justin
51,
Allgaier
okay.
getting into the car ahead of him, and the accordion wreck took Boyer into the back.
Put him into the back of Sorensen.
And there's that big fender billowing out there.
Yeah, It started stacking up in front of Reed Soren.
So we listened in on Clint Boyer.
Do not do anything stupid to the other driver, please. Just stay in the car. Do not get out. Stay in the car, please.
That was Brian Patty, his crew chief, telling him to stay in his race car, telling Clint Boyer to stay in his car.
And that's a rule. Don't forget, you're supposed to stay by your car, near your car, or in your car.
They call it knockout qualifying. There's one reason why. Two red flags in last night's Sprint Unlimited, and now we have one here in round 1A of Daytona 500 qualifying. The clock stopped, frozen at 1 minute 22 seconds to go in this session. That is plenty of time once the track goes green for drivers to get up to speed and get another qualifying lap in. And of these 25 drivers, there are at least 15 who would like to improve their time if they can.
That's all they're going to get, though, is one lap, because it takes a minute to get around back to the start-finish line leaving pit road.
When qualifying began, the green flag waves, you can go any time you want, and everybody wanted to go at least to the end of pit road at once.
But watch how they're snaking their way, even out in the grass. I mean, cars that were way back in the line back there, they were trying to get grouped up to get to the front right here. And I've never seen anything like this before.
Blocking each other?
They're all trying to find their friends and line up with teammates or those running the same manufacturer.
It's crazy.
So they come off pit road and begin to get up to speed. It all happens right here. The whitish car reads Sorensen.
See, they stacked up in front of Justin Allgaier in that orange 51 car, and it just was the accordion effect back through there.
Now just ahead of Sorensen was Michael Annett. Just behind was Reed Sorensen. And there is the contact. You see the motion by Clint Boyer trying to make the pass. And it all goes wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure that the spotter, as Larry mentioned earlier, and everybody was telling Sorensen, you've got damage to the right rear, but you're under such pressure, he couldn't pull over and let him go. He had to keep trying.
At least 5 cars damaged, including the driver who laid down the fastest lap in this session, Denny Hamlin. Here's Matt Yoakum.
And Mike, he has brought that 11 car back to pit road, and Dave Rogers and company repairing the front fascia, that left front corner just above the headlight. There was about a 10-inch crack. They've used duct tape and Bear Bond. The other concern when he got here, there was fluid dripping from the hood seam right above the Camry decal, and they were concerned that something might have happened to their engine, so NASCAR allowed them for safety purposes to raise the hood and just peek in, and that was from another vehicle. So they dodged a bullet there. Now they're just trying to fix the fascia.
two of the cars involved in this crash, Denny Hamlin and J.J. Yaley, are among the 3 fastest speeds so far.
There's the spotters we were talking about that's right above the top grandstand.
24 drivers will transfer to round 2, not necessarily half from this group, half from the other. Here's some strategy audio from Brad Keselowski's team.
Well, no matter what you do, you're only going to get 1 lap here, right? So, I'm just going to try to position myself with Joey. I don't know if you're close to Blaney's spotter, but tell him to come on. We'll be ready.
Keselowski is 8th right now. He is probably in a good position to transfer, but we won't know until after Group 1B has their turn at the track for 5 minutes.
And he mentioned Blaney. Ryan Blaney drives for the Wood Brothers. That's another Ford team that has that alliance with Team Penske.
Ryan Blaney right now has the 5th fastest time. There's probably little advantage to him going back on the track for 1 more lap.
Yeah, I think the guys that are about maybe from 11th and 12th, from those folks on back, they need to pick up the speed.
Red flag at Daytona. Driver's position toward the end of pit road. There are those Ford drivers all lined up in a group. The Stewart-Haas Chevrolet's a little further up to Jamie Little.
And Clint Boyer has been checked and released. He's okay, but you're behind the 44. What do you see and what are you thinking?
Well, first of all, I was behind the 44. He come flying around, come up on the apron, jumps in front of me, then runs over the 51, stacks us all up, and I run into him. It's idiotic to be out here doing this anyway. There's no sense in being able to trying to put on some cute show for whatever the hell this is. Then you got a guy out there in desperation doing this crap like this. I mean, it's just, there's no reason to be out here. These guys have spent 6 months working on these cars, busting their ass on these cars to go out there and have some guy out of desperation do that crap. But it ain't his fault. It's not. It's NASCAR's fault for putting us out here in the middle of this crap for nothing. There's absolutely, we used to come down here and worry about who's going to sit on the front row in the pole for the biggest race of the year. Now all we do is come down here and worry about how a starting park like this out of desperation is going to knock us out of the Daytona 500. We've been in meetings for 45 minutes just trying to figure out what in the hell everybody's going to do just so we can make the race. It's stupid. There's no sense in doing this.
Very frustrated driver. He will go to a backup for Thursday's dual races. Guys.
Thanks, Jamie. Knockout qualifying was introduced last year to put drama and excitement into the qualifying procedure. It works in Formula One. It works well in other facets of the sport. It's been quite successful in NASCAR, perhaps with the possible exception of Daytona and Talladega, the 2 super speedways with the restrictor plates, where frustrations are evident. Now, what Boyer was referring to as start and park drivers was a generalization of cars like Michael Annett and J.J. Yaley and even Carl Edwards, because these are teams that don't have enough points to be able to get into the race on a provisional. They're either going to have to race their way in or time their way in, and desperate drivers sometimes do desperate things.
And frustrated drivers sometimes say things that, you know, they would probably regret later on. But you can't blame Clint. I mean, he's very upset. That's the 2nd car he wrecked. He wrecked one last night here in the Unlimited. He got a wreck today. And so, Matt, what do you got going on down there?
Well, catching up with the man who's fastest at this juncture, Denny Hamlin is currently 1st on the board. And slight cosmetic damage to your car. You dodged a huge bullet. Describe so far this early session.
Mayhem. You know, there's no other word to describe it. It's just everybody's on so many different agendas that it, you know, this stuff can happen. But it's, I don't know. It's the format we got to go by, and we're going to try to do the best we can to play the system and make it work. But you know, we flat spotted our tires here to where I can't join this last group. But you know, in 1 lap, it'll be hard for them to run faster than that. So we'll see how it all goes.
All right, thank you, Denny. Now, NASCAR will allow Hamlin and the 6 to change tires for the next round.
Nobody wanted to be first, and leaving pit road, Larry, this might be too little too late.
Yeah, you have to start the lap at the start-finish line before this clock right here gets to 0, and quite honestly,
they ain't gonna make
what we saw in practice, that's going to be very borderline.
I don't think they'll make it, Larry. I mean, that you had to leave pit road with a minute to go, and they were into the 50 seconds.
Well, somebody had to go first, and it's Front Row Motorsports. David Reagan should be assured a spot in the 500. But because that 35 team is new, they transferred Reagan's owner points from last year over to the 35. He has no points. He's got to go, and they got to get to the line before 0-1.
Should be over.
They don't make it.
They don't make it.
This lap will not count. Had they made it past the line before 0, then they could complete the lap and it would count as a time lap. Too little, too late.
But we had it timed out from up here.
Oh,
we
yeah.
knew you had to leave pit road with 60 seconds to go to be able to start a lap.
Yeah, we watched them yesterday in all the practice sessions, and we timed it out. And you had to leave with a minute to go to get back around here to take the green flag. And I don't know what those guys are thinking, but they weren't thinking right.
Daryl, I believe they were thinking nobody wanted to be the first group. They wanted to be the group that was catching the first group.
And you know what? Denny Hamlin's glad they played it that way.
Yeah. Well, I think Hamlin, Harvick, a bunch of those guys, they said, hey, they're not going to get up that. They can't run that fast in one lap anyway. But at least they should have given themselves a chance.
All right, then. Same song, second verse coming up. The other 24 cars, Group 1B is next. Teammates Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano talking it over after they work with Ryan Blaney, trying to post a good qualifying time that will advance them to round 2. Now, these times will not determine the front row of the Daytona 500. They merely advance you to round 2 if you're among the top 24 overall once round 1B is completed.
Mike and Darrell, I don't think these were the speeds that we thought we were going to see. We thought we would see much quicker speeds, but I think because they never really got assembled nicely, that'll be interesting. I think this second group, we might see that.
Yeah. I think, like we said, I said this in the opening, and I know I talked to a bunch of these guys. They really haven't got this thing figured out. And so until you figure it out, you're just out there going through the motions trying to figure it out.
Jamie?
Well, Reed Sorensen has just been checked and released, and I just asked you, do you have a backup? So you said no, but what is the game plan from here?
I have no idea. We'll have to reevaluate and see, but we don't have a backup cars now. But as you can see, I was just trying to block. I mean, that's what got Matt Kenseth the win last night, and I was just doing everything I could to stay in front of Clint. It's pretty obvious what I was trying to do. I didn't mean to wreck anybody or anything like that. So just a product of this type of qualifying, trying to get that one lap. I didn't want it to end that way, that's for sure, and I apologize to all the guys, and we'll hopefully get a car here and try to get in the race on Thursday.
All right, tough break for Reed Sorensen as the team will scramble to try to get a car together.
Now, you know what I call that? He manned up right there. Hey, I was blocking, and that happened, and it's a product a lot like the same thing Clint said, and he hates what happened.
If he moves out of line for Clint Boyer and the rest of that train to go by, his lap is toast.
He's done.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think if you listen to Clint's interview and you listen to Reed's interview, it just backs up. This is the biggest race of the season. As Clint said, you prepare for months to come down here.
Yeah, that's the tough part. That was their Daytona 500 cars.
45.036 seconds. That's Denny Hamlin's time. That's 199.8 miles per hour. We were pretty sure we would see 200 today.
Yeah, well, we may in this next session. Once we get a few less cars on the track, maybe these guys have a little bit of time to figure out what they want to do.
I'm thinking back to past dual races like we'll have on Thursday. Nobody gets knocked out of the Daytona 500 today. That's when we'll set the field. Usually if the first race is the Wreckfest, the second one may run caution-free. Is that kind of thinking going to apply here?
I think it could. I think it probably could. Matt, you got Brad down there?
Debbie, we have caught up with Brad Keselowski. Saw that the Team Penske and Wood Brothers conference just ended. So what did you learn in your session?
I don't know if we really learned anything. We're just kind of going over it, what we could have done differently, and I don't know if there really was anything. You know, when you have a wreck, you need to get all the laps in you can get in, because every lap keeps getting faster, so you lose kind of your last 2 or 3 laps that might be the fastest. So no one was able to get back out because you couldn't ever get enough speed. But just all part of the game, right? We did a good job controlling what we could control, and you know, we're all 3 cars are close to making it to the next round, but I wouldn't put any guarantees on it.
All right, thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Yeah, Logano is most at risk of those three. He is 10th. And remember, they'll take the top 24 overall combined time from both sessions 1A and B.
One other thing we need to point out, Bobby Labonte, who was involved in that crash, one of our past champions, he was 7th quickest when that round ended.
Michael Waltrip getting ready to go, two-time Daytona 500 winner. And you see how close we are to 200 miles an hour. Had the caution not come out and those cars been allowed to complete a second lap under green, we likely would have broken through 200 miles per hour.
Yeah, I think so. We will.
Let's see if we see the same chaos that we saw when that first group backed out and tried to leave pit road.
Just watch. I mean, already pit road is blocked. There's cars everywhere. You're looking for your buddy. It's just this little odd.
And maybe to answer the question, how are they lined up on pit road? They're lined up by a draw.
A blind draw. Now, the cars that were in Group 1A, we're going to leave them on the pylon on the right side because all of their times count. You will see drivers from Group 1B filtering up into some of those positions as they post times quicker than those that have already been recorded.
I believe this group is going to have a little different approach. I think they're going to weight this clock down right here to maybe to time it where they only run 2 laps. We saw that at Talladega last year.
Well, there's a lot of Chevrolets in this group, and there's the Hendrick cars, the Childress cars, quite a few Chevrolets in this group. Maybe they're going to work together as manufacturers.
I think Brad Keselowski hit it right on the head. Since nobody in Group 1A got to run a full 2 laps, they never reached maximum speed. All the times in this group could be quicker than in the first group.
Creep up there, some of them are trying to go here.
If they're trying
to be the entire be ready here. Roll 20 starting to roll. Be ready. Don't worry about going yet. We're not going to lose them. 47.
If they're trying to run 2 laps,
we got to help. Our 42 is definitely with us.
They better get going.
Take off, we'll be good.
But nobody wants to be first.
It's going to be the entire pack once we roll here.
I think somewhere around the 3-minute mark is 2:45 to 3 will get them 2 laps.
But nobody wants to go, and I don't understand this strategy. I really don't get it.
Daryl, what they're trying to do, they want to get that fast lap, and they don't want to give another group an opportunity by running a 3rd lap. We saw it at Talladega.
Yeah, it's just sitting here. I don't even know if they're going to get out for 2 laps or not.
And the first group will be at a disadvantage because there will be no one for them to catch up to in the draft. I'm with you, Larry. I think in the next 10 seconds, if you're not headed out there, it's going to be tough to get 2 laps in.
I think if they leave somewhere around 2:40, because remember, we're talking about a minute to get up to speed, and then the laps are somewhere around 45 seconds.
Plenty of room.
And it's on.
Of course, that's what I mean. Once they go, they all go.
Start rolling. 2 of them outside. Start rolling. Leave a gap still, though. Plenty of room. We got helpers.
Yeah.
That's a land rush right there.
I don't get it.
Now you see about half the cars have taken off in one group. Now as they form up and come to speed, who will have the advantage? Ryan Newman out first. A.J. Allmendinger with him.
I mean, I like the gaps. There's some good gaps here. Those first 6 cars kind of run into their own, and then you got 2 or 3 stragglers back there, but then there's a really good group back there. So, you know, they're spaced out to where you can get a little help from the draft on the cars in front of you.
All right, again, they're going to start this lap right here, and I think that's going to be enough time to get 2 laps. Here's the guy I think we need to watch. Matt Kenseth in that 20 car. He's the 3rd group. He has Jeff Gordon not far behind him, Michael Waltrip, Kyle Busch, trying to get that group assembled where they can get that lined up and in that draft.
I don't know, Larry. I agree with you on the 20 car, but they can't get up there and help him, and he's really too far back to get much help from the cars way up in front of him. I'm not sure he's in the best spot.
I think that plays right into Jeff Gordon's hands. If those 3 cars
for Jeff,
can close on Kenseth, Gordon could get a really quick lap here.
I think you're right. I think Jeff's the one that's in the great spot.
All right, they're going to come around and complete 1 lap, and I think when I look at the clock right here, they will have enough time to get that 2nd lap. But when I look at the group that's coming to the line right now, it's a mirror of what happened last year at Talladega. It's Chevrolets. They all have a Richard Childress Racing affiliation, and Ryan Newman is the guy at the front, just like at Talladega.
Eric Almirola, top of the board. Jamie McMurray, Ricky Stenhouse are the fastest three.
That's over 200 miles an hour.
Sam Hornish climbed up there into the top 10. 200.28 miles per hour.
I really thought that second group back there may have something, but they're having to pass cars that's running on the bottom, and I think that's going to hurt them.
Yeah, the spacing was just not exactly right, Larry, from to take advantage of the draft in front of them. Let's see what this lap gets. This might get some speed.
5 seconds.
And for all that, Jeff Gordon, 26 on the first lap. He moves up to 15th. Carl Edwards, third, behind Almirola and Stenhouse.
And we're out of time if red and black's out.
But this lap will count.
It will count.
They're allowed to come under the red and black flag one time, and this will be to complete that second lap.
This is when you're going to see some speed. I think we're going to see some fast laps right here. But Matt Kent's has gotten a nice draft down the back straightaway with help.
I think that's going to be the group in the catbird seat because they have fast cars lined up right now coming off turn 4. As long as they don't move around too much.
Matt Kenseth, Sprint Unlimited winner. Last night brings Michael Waltrip across the line, and Waltrip jumps to 6th. Kenseth is 10th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. up to 8th.
And that will end the session.
And to our point, we felt this group would be quicker. Denny Hamlin, who was quickest, is now 11th.
24 drivers move on to the second of 3 rounds.
I think I'll tell you something else. What do you got, Larry?
Kevin Harvick, you just saw him. He got bumped all the way back to 29th.
And he was the fastest of the 4 Stewart-Haas cars. They are all right in a row, but none will advance. Mission accomplished for Carl Edwards. He moves on to round 2. But the front row for the 500 will not be set until round 3.
202.3 pole at this point.
Eric Almirola, the July Sprint Cup race winner here in Daytona, is fastest of round 1. At 202 miles an hour, this is no ride around. Look at how hard Kyle Busch is working on Michael Waltrip, and the wind is working on the front of Kyle Busch's car.
Yeah, look at that hood flexing around, jumping around. It's just how much pressure. It's actually air going under the front of the 18 car and blowing the hood up. But he's giving Michael a really nice shove.
Down to pit road, Matt Yoakum.
Ryan Newman missed it by 4 spots. Can you describe just how frustrating trying to work yourself in to go to the next round?
I wouldn't say it's frustrating. I mean, the frustrating part is just dealing with this whole system, which makes no sense whatsoever. So it's hard to stand behind NASCAR when everybody I talk to up and down pit road doesn't understand why we're doing this. So it's maybe I need to be sat down and educated a little bit. But it was not what we wanted for our Caterpillar Chevrolet, no doubt. But we also avoid the next few crashes that come in qualifying, which should never occur.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Chris?
Well, Kurt Busch, part of that shortened first group, and Kurt, obviously disappointed you're not going to move on, but what kind of pressure does this mean for Thursday?
Well, I'd like to talk about all the hard work that goes into these cars and how much time and effort goes into building a Sprint Cup car to qualify at the Daytona 500. And we're a lot of smart people here. There's drivers, there's owners, there's NASCAR, and we got to find a better system. I mean, so much hard work goes into these cars, and then you have this roulette wheel for qualifying. It doesn't seem like it's the proper system, but hey, it is what it is, and we could be here smiling, getting belted up, going back out for the second round. But just want to thank all my guys for all their hard work, and Haas Automation, Chevrolet, Monster Energy, State Water Heaters, all of our sponsors. We should just take the cars as we build them in the off season, unload, pass tech, and then go qualify 1 car at a time, 4-lap average. That would really give a sense of pride to putting effort towards building a car to qualify for the Daytona 500 instead of just shaking up bingo balls.
Obviously some frustration down here. Jamie?
Well, walking through the garage before qualifying started, I saw this plan coming together with the top 3 on the board right now. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., one of them. So, Ricky, I thought that was an interesting group. 3 different organizations planning to work together. What goes into that?
I'm not real sure that we really knew exactly what we were doing. We had a plan. Obviously, everybody goes and sits down on pit road, and I was one of the last cars. I couldn't get out if I wanted to. There was really no way around it. But you know, the Roush Fenway guys brought some fast Fords down. This Fast and All Ford has been at the top of the board, you know, any drafting practice. But it's just about timing it right. And luckily we got in that group right there that timed it right. And we had some good cars in it. Like you said, Jamie and Eric and I were all talking about what we wanted to do. There was a whole other line of cars that we wanted to get together, and it's crazy how it just doesn't work out sometimes. And you got a plan, and it always changes. So, you know, we'll see if we can do it again. I think we got the first part of our job done that we wanted to, is that to get to the second round, but also put a really fast lap up because, you know, the top, I think, 6 speeds are still locked into the race. And after Talladega last year, we definitely feel good to make it out of the first round.
Well, nice work. Part of that plan worked for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Guys?
Yeah, Stenhouse missed that race at Talladega. For 56 years, teams have spent as many as 6 months massaging on their cars to come down here and run one fast lap in pole position qualifying. This year, things are very different. Today, we set the front row for the 57th running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, only on Fox next Sunday, noon Eastern Time. 2015 season begins with its biggest race. In a little more than 2 minutes, we'll begin round 2.
I think one of the reasons that guys are so frustrated with the qualifying is we have qualifying races. If we were like even at Talladega where you don't have a qualifying race, this format makes a little bit more sense. But here, really and truly, you're only qualifying for a spot or a place to start in a qualifying race. And so that, I think that's the frustration of when they say, why are we doing this? I think that's probably part a lot of the frustration.
Now, some of those speeds you just saw may be useful in guaranteeing those drivers into the field, but those speeds now are erased and round 2 will stand on its own. The fastest 24 have advanced to this second round, another 5-minute round, from which half of those cars, 12, will advance to round 3 and run for the front row.
And one reason I don't know that round 2 is going to be different from round 1, remember, we had 2 groups. We had a group of 25 and 24, and this is 24 in this second round.
Yeah, I think right now you're looking at your teammates. Who's in this round that we can, you know, who can we group up with? Because that appears to be the hot tip.
And the intensity continues to ramp up because you get closer to a shot. It's sitting on the front row for the Daytona 500.
Yeah, and the time between sessions gets shorter. And you only got 5 minutes when the session starts. So you got to figure out how long am I going to sit on the end of pit road before I go. We know it's got to be a minute. We know that. I don't know why they don't know that.
Let's remind you, the cars are lined up on pit road by order of a blind draw. So you're not necessarily anywhere near your teammates or friends when you back out of that pit stall.
Look at this. They're ready to push them back.
Kind of like a Le Mans start, except those fellows aren't running to the cars to climb in them. They're pushing them back. But again, same as before, nobody wants to be first. No one wants to be the group that everyone is trying to suck up to and catch and get a better time off of. The green flag will wave from the flag stand, and NASCAR will announce to the teams.
Green for round 2, 5 minutes.
It's on.
We'll be shy one driver in this second round that did advance, Bobby Labonte, who was involved in that crash. He was one of the fastest 24.
All right. Here we go.
Spotters on the roof in radio contact with their teams and drivers.
J.J. Yaley's another one that will not go out that did advance to round 2.
48 and 5 are just sitting back here. I guess they're not going to help us. So.
I see the 3 Penske cars. I see the 2, the 22, and the 21 look like they're grouped up.
Keep an eye on the clock right here. I would say we're going to see the same thing again, probably somewhere around 2:45 to 3.
There's a ramp.
And all that gesturing up on the spotter stand looks like the floor of the stock exchange.
Yeah.
Everybody trying to enter a bid and trying to get someone's attention. Get them to go together.
I've never seen anyone looking for a good parking place to start qualifying. Hamlin pulls up there and he backs up into a spot where he feels he's good to go.
I think that second group a while ago, they maybe now know they might have went a little early, because I don't think they wanted to get that third lap in. I think they were really just wanting to get 2 laps.
Look at this. Let me jockey around here. You're going the wrong way, dude. We're supposed to be trying to see how fast you can go forward.
That's Ty Dillon finding his older brother Austin.
Behind the 78.
And you say they're trying to pull behind Martin Truex Jr. in their 78, another Chevrolet driver that has that technical alliance with Richard Childress Racing.
The way he ran last night, I'd want to get behind him too. All right.
I think we'll see that clock go a little lower this time before they leave pit road.
You know what I see coming? A great big clock on your dashboard. and you hit the button and it starts to run down.
Eric Almirola, top of the chart, weaving his way into position. Ricky Stenhouse going to come right up with Almirola. 2 Fords together midway of pit road.
There goes the 3. I mean, the 21's an alliance, so I call those the 3 Penske cars.
First car's leading pit road.
And it's on.
And we're off. I don't know what we're off to, but we're off.
Oh, 1 car did not roll, and that's Michael Waltrip.
How about pull that out, keep it running.
Clutch problems.
Stuck underneath the floor mat.
All right, so the 3 Fords in front, 2 from Penske, 1 from the Wood brothers. Then a long gap to Greg Biffle, Trevor Bayne, and Sam Hornish. And then a couple of shorter gaps that could prove useful to the cars behind.
If you have enough time to, some of these groups need time to get caught up and grouped up. Just don't know how much time they got to do that. This front group might not be bad, though.
Yeah, but that second group with Greg Biffle in that 16 car, but Darrell, you're right. I like this group right here that's led once again by Matt Kenseth in that 20 car.
Yeah, that's a good spacing. You got to look at the spacing, and you got to remember that the draft is effective. Oh, you got to be within a couple hundred yards of the car in front of you to get a good pull.
Ricky Stenhouse came out behind 4 cars with a big gap at the line. He is catching them in the backstretch. There's Stenhouse at the tail end of that group. He's got a strong pull from those cars in front of him, and he should have a really good lap.
And we saw him practice the Ford drivers in the draft. They laid down some fast speeds.
We've seen Fords run fast speeds here all weekend. They've been pretty good. Biffle's been one of the better ones, and certainly we know that Stenhouse has.
Keselowski 46.54. Here's that second group. It is Stenhouse 45.91. Now Dale Earnhardt Jr., now Denny Hamlin, now Jeff Gordon top of the board.
And they just started a second lap, so when you look there with a minute to go, they will get another lap after this one.
12 to transfer. Stenhouse got bumped all the way down to the 12th spot.
Yeah, what about there's Gordon first and his teammate Jimmy Johnson third?
And they go around Michael Waltrip, catching Michael. Could that help that group, Darrell?
It could, but it's moved them up the track, took them off the bottom of the track. It may help them. I think what's going to help them is the cars are passing, going by right here.
Wow, here comes Biffle. He's got a full head of steam as he brings his group to the line. Gordon still fastest. Jimmy Johnson to the top.
Boy, look at that speed, guys. That's a 44.57. That's got to be getting up close to 203 and change. 201 and change.
Those 3 cars, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Jamie McMurray, were in the right group, and they are the fastest of the 12 that will move on.
Whoa, this
to round 3.
Edgy. Ooh.
All right, what you're seeing, these drivers are trying to slow down. They don't want this group to be able to run quicker than what they did that last lap.
Man.
Coming to the line. Here comes Kenseth drafting off Michael Waltrip. And he slots in 7th.
And Jimmy Johnson saw what was going on, and he backed out and got out of the way in that 48 car.
Wow. They were going into the 3rd and 4th turn there. I wasn't sure they were all going to come out.
So teammates and friends never mind, because the fastest 3 in this session are from 3 different organizations. Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, and Chip Ganassi Racing. 2 Chevys and a Toyota in the top 3, led by Jimmy Johnson.
Man, I held my breath when they were going down the back into turn. Watch this, Mike. I mean, they get down here and there's cars everywhere and they're slowing down, they're speeding up. Here comes look at that, right through the middle.
Yeah, that liked to have been big there.
That was, oh, so close.
Matt Kenseth leading that group. Good thing they had plenty of room, but Keselowski trying to get down and out of the way.
I mean, that was over 10 miles per hour differential.
That was weird.
The 12 drivers that advance include all 4 Hendrick Motorsports entries, all 4 from Joe Gibbs Racing, along with Martin Truex, Ty and Austin Dillon, and Jamie McMurray. The fastest 12 move on to the final round, and 2 of them will start on the Daytona 500 front row. Carl Edwards, who came in here with a brand new race team and thus no car owner points to fall back on, had to have speed or raceability on Thursday to make the 500. Right now he's among the 12 drivers that advance to round 3. 2 will win the front row today for the 500. All the rest of the positions will be set, and we'll see which 6 cars go home after the Budweiser duel at Daytona. And that's Under the Lights, Thursday on Fox Sports 1, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You see above the yellow line the 12 drivers who will advance to the final round. Here's Chris Neville.
Well, Eric Almirola was quickest in that first round, but not going to advance to the second round. Eric, I heard you say on the radio that you stuck with the team strategy. It didn't work. Should you change that strategy?
Yeah, it's always hard. You know, you form a plan and you kind of want to stick to that. But when we left pit road, I had a really bad feeling about our position in the pack. We weren't close enough to the Penske cars to get a good tow off them, and all the cars behind us were close enough to draft off of us. And my gut was telling me to go ahead and bail on that plan, but I would have been the bad guy, straining all my teammates out there. So I stuck with the plan, and it is what it is. Our car is really fast. Smithfield Ford Fusion's really good, and we'll race really good in the duels on Thursday, and we'll get a better starting finish than or a starting spot than 17th. But I really thought we had a shot at the pole, and that's what I'm most disappointed about.
Thanks, Eric. Jamie?
And Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 18th on the board right now. You're feeling pretty good about being locked in. So how does that change your mindset for the duels on Thursday?
Yeah, we'll have to see, you know, what they come up with on who's locked in. We think we ran a good enough time that we would be in on our speed from the first round. But you know, we want to keep this fast and all forward as pretty as we can, you know, throughout those duels. You know, obviously we want to get the best starting position that we can, which is, you know, winning a duel. And, you know, so that would be our plan. But if things get hairy, we want to make sure that we have this car for the 500. So, you know, I think our first session went according to plan. You know, the second one, not so much. We obviously needed to be that last group, you know, but it's tough to wait and wait and wait. And so all us Fords went and, you know, went to go see what we could run, and it just wasn't quick enough. But you know, it's not a bad day. It was a lot more stressful last night thinking about it after the shootout, what we were going to do after the Unlimited. You know, but it was a lot better after the first session.
No Fords advancing to the third round. Now let's go over to Matt.
And Jamie, Team Penske and the Wood Brothers 19th through 21st, unable to assemble your group at the right time. What happened, Joey?
Plan didn't work. You know, we tried, you know, going out there and trying to pull them all out there and trying to make something happen. We just didn't get far enough back in enough time to be able to draft off another pack, and we just didn't have enough speed when we came back to try to draft off a pack, and just none of it worked. So we learned what not to do on this one, and you know, we got a whole nother qualifying race. So this doesn't really, you know, sets us where we set the qualifying race. So we got some more time to work on our Shell Penzo Ford and get out there and get racing and have a little better starting spot for the 500.
All right, thank you, Joey.
Thank you.
Mike?
The Fords all qualified together 14th through 21st as one group. Today's aerial coverage is provided by Goodyear. Everything they learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what rolls into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR. thinking about round 3, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and team.
So what I'm worried about is getting up there, TJ, and everybody staying behind me. You know, not even pulling all the way up there. Yeah, that's fine. Some of them will, though. Yeah, that's fine, though. As long as I don't want you sitting at a dead stop down there, you know, way down there. I might back out and all just not move. All right. Yeah.
You know, Mike, Hendricks, Gibbs, and Childress, those are the powerhouse teams that are all in the top 12.
But what Dale Earnhardt Jr. is talking about, and see a lot of damage on
the 78,
Jr.
yeah.
Is Dale Earnhardt Jr. is all the way down toward the end of pit road is the reason he was concerned about that.
Track is open for the final round. The fastest 2 drivers in this round will start on the front row in next Sunday's Daytona 500.
And I think the cat and mouse game will be which group goes first, because you really, I think, want to be in that second group, that second wave.
Now look how they're all laying back there, and surprised that.
Now you heard from Eric Almirola and Ricky Stenhouse. The good news for them is their speeds in round 1 were the 2 fastest times of the day. So they would be assured a spot in the 500 field.
Get above the blend line and we let them get around with their run. That way we don't get them all stuck behind us there, but I'll let you know.
Michael Waltrip, your thoughts on these first 2 rounds?
It's just, it might be frustrating for the drivers, but I'm going to tell you what, the show is amazing. To be out there in the middle of all that and feel the draft, I had a great run. My spotter, Brett Griffin, told me to move up. Kyle was coming. That was the right call. It pushed us to the start-finish line, and we got in a really good time for our car. A lot of things can go wrong when you qualify like this, as we saw in that first session with Clint Boyer. But for the fans, I think a lot of things go right, because it's fun to watch and crazy to be a part of.
So Michael clocks in 22nd. He will start 11th in his dual race on Thursday.
You see Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth, they're all the way at the end of pit road, sitting there side by side. Their Toyota teammates from Joe Gibbs Racing, Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch, they're all the way down toward the latter part. There they are way back there. So this is going to be interesting. You see now we're almost down to 3 minutes.
See, I think, Larry, in this session, it's almost like every man for himself. Look, you work your plan, we'll work ours. Apparently the 11 and 20, they're going to work together. And the 18 and the 19, maybe they plan on working together or with somebody else back there.
Jamie, how about the damage on Martin Truex's car?
Well, I just talked to his crew chief, Cole Pern, and he said that damage on the right side happened on his fastest lap. So he said, imagine how much quicker we even could have gone. But I said, are you worried about this last round? He said, it's not shaped perfectly. We should be okay. And she's going to look pretty in victory lane.
All right. Meanwhile, in the trading pit up atop the spotter stand, deals being made and plans being made. But remember, in round 2, the 3 fastest cars were from 3 different teams and 2 different manufacturers.
Yeah. Let's keep an eye on this right here. We're already halfway through round 3. This group definitely looking at only 1 to 2 laps.
I think 1 lap. I think just what we saw in that last session, you get 1 fast lap. You don't want somebody sucking up on you and helping them.
This is like watching.
Creeping, but don't go. I mean, they're creeping. They're just trying to get other guys to go. Do not go.
Go whatever back there. So about him being on the front row. I didn't know who the other guy was.
It's an old Western movie. Gunfighters, itchy trigger fingers. Who will be first?
We're going to go if nobody else goes in 1 minute. I'm sure a whole bunch of other guys will too, but there's 2 minutes left right now.
Those are all the Hendrick radios.
Right at 2 minutes.
If it gets down to 1:45, absolutely 1 lap.
I think that's the plan, Larry. You don't want to help the other guys. So you go as your group, you get grouped up, you go as a group, and you hope you don't help the other guys.
In a minute, we can't really check up, so they're creeping again. Couple up, one's creeping, he's not moving, he's getting back in line.
135.
You got to leave at the end. You got to be on the roll at 1 minute, and we're down to 1.5 minutes.
130, 127. You've got to get 5 seconds. I'm sending you if nobody else goes.
Just wait for them. If they don't go, just hold, man. Just hold. Just hold.
20 seconds.
If I'm a driver or crew chief, I'm saying go. Let's get a lap in.
Truex. Martin Truex is on the throttle.
Listen, it's like everything all it takes is one. Once one rolls, they all roll.
We saw this happen in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at Michigan last year.
If they don't get going, they won't make it. It's going to be real borderline for this back. If you're not up to speed, you're pretty good. It's going to be borderline.
But Darrell, what I see 9 drivers that's pretty lined up back there. If they can complete if they can get a lap started, they're going to be in great shape.
I tell you, the guy, I mean, Truex jumped out there. He's out there all by himself, way up here. You see him going down the back right now.
But the drivers in the back must cross the start-finish line before that clock gets to 0.
Let me tell you,
or their lap will not count.
And that's going to be close. We're at 23, 22, 20. That's going to be close for some of them to make it.
Being the rabbit, Martin Truex may have the right strategy.
We're down to 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. 9,
it's going to be close
8,
at the back.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Time is expired.
They made it.
So this will be the money lap. This will count.
Well, I think if you watch that group right there, led by Casey Kane in the 5, that's probably where the pole sitter for the Daytona 500 is going to come from.
That group's in the catbird seat because they got 3 cars in front of them, and they're coming up on the back of them pretty quick. That group should put down the fast lap.
As long as they don't start slicing and dicing through 3 and 4.
I think they got it. I think they know they're in the best spot right now. Just stay right there, draft up on the cars in front of you, and you're going to have a pretty quick time here, I would say.
Just look how quick they're pulling up on those 3 drivers in front of them.
But and it's really it's almost perfect. It's almost perfect the way they timed that out. Those guys did. Good job.
Truex now, Earnhardt, Kane, Hamlin,
Gordon Johnson.
How about that?
Jeff Gordon.
48-24, baby. Love it. Awesome job, buddy.
That is unbelievable.
Man, that's awesome. That's so cool, guys.
In the offseason, Jeff Gordon announced this will be his final season. He was emphatic last week, saying this will be his final Daytona Speedweeks. And he'll start the 500 from the pole. How about that?
You can't make this stuff up, guys. I'm just telling you, you really can't.
Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, the front row for the 500.
Jeff Gordon in his final Daytona 500 will sit on the pole for the 2nd time in his career. He has won the Great American Race 3 times. He'll try for a 4th in his swan song season. Chris Neville is down there with him.
And Chris, that's 23 consecutive seasons with the pole, and you start 2015 off fantastic. What's it like to get the pole in your last run at the Daytona 500?
Well, you know, the team at Hendrick Motorsports always puts so much effort into these restrictor plate races, and I mean every race, but you know, so much pride in the engine shop and the bodies and the engineering that goes into these cars. And you know, this year with this qualifying format, the driver finally gets to play a role. So with a fast race car and, you know, a lot of coordination between the spotter, Alan, you know, and myself and our teammates, that was pretty nerve-wracking. I didn't think we were going to wait that long. I really wanted to go sooner than that. But that just feels very gratifying, you know, just as a total team effort to be able to pull that off, to have a 1-2 for Hendrick Motorsports on the front row. And whew, that feels good. That's awesome. You know, this is one of the most gratifying polls here at Daytona that I've ever had. I mean, not just because, you know, my final Daytona 500, but because that, you know, you got to try to plan it out and you got to try to, you know, play that chess match, and we played it really, really well. I went to go off pit road pretty hard. I know I had Jimmy behind me, and I saw the 20 and the 11 check it up, and I said, no, I want to be behind them, and it worked out perfect. I thought Jimmy was going to get it, and right there, you know, on that last lap, I got a little bit of a surge and sucked up to those guys. I thought this might be enough, and you know, you wanted to be in the back, and that's part of the waiting game. And Talladega bit us here at won the pole for the Daytona 500. Awesome job to my team, everybody back at Hendrick Motorsports. Rick Hendrick, hey buddy, this is pretty awesome to be able to pull this off today.
We'll go celebrate. Congratulations, guys. Woo! Jamie?
A lot of drama over the last 2 hours, and it all came down to the final seconds. Jimmy Johnson on the front row. What was that last lap like for you?
I was kind of torn because if we stayed on pit road and didn't roll off, I think we had pole based the way the rules are written. So I'm sitting there thinking, sure guys, let the clock run out. I'll sit here on pit lane and wait it out. It's no problem. And then once we got rolling, I wasn't sure what would happen if the 78 crossed or you know, maybe 4 or 5 crossed and we didn't. So then I'm like, man, I hope I get there on time. We did, and then on the last car on that line, I thought, man, I've still got the pole. I'm in great shape, but it was good enough for second. So very interesting qualifying session, to say the least. But I just want to say thank you to everybody at Hendrick Motorsports for their hard work. To have all 4 cars in that final 12 was pretty cool. Obviously, the front row is very special. Big thank you to Chevrolet and then my awesome sponsor, Lowe's.
Jimmy Johnson, a 2-time Daytona 500 winner. He will start on the front row. Chris?
And Jamie for Hendrick Motorsports, the 4th time they sweep the front row for the Daytona 500. Jeff Gordon, his 78th career pole. At a speed of just over 201 miles per hour on pole day here at Daytona International Speedway. That's your front row. Jeff Gordon with teammate Jimmy Johnson, a couple of Chevrolets, and Hendrick Motorsports next Sunday, the 57th running of the Great American Race. They have 5 Daytona 500 titles combined between them. Meanwhile, Carl Edwards' new team, he was sweating it out, qualifying. He doesn't have to sweat anymore. Chris Neville standing by with him.
Yeah, Chris, he was nervous right before qualifying there, but you made it in on time. You going to sleep a little bit better tonight?
Yeah, sleep, period. This is huge for us. I mean, Joe Gibbs Racing took a huge chance with the 4th team. Eris came on board, Stanley, all these guys, Toyota. And we had 4 or 5 meetings about how to somehow get ourselves in the show, and with that time, we should be locked in.
Congratulations. Nice job.
Thanks.
And you can see he's smiling now, but it was a chaotic, you were part of it all, a wild group qualifying format, but in the end, a couple of favorites land right in the front row, and Carl gets in, which he deserves to be, of course.
You know, I love Carl. He's a race car driver. That should put us in. They've told him he's in, but he's got to see it. He wants to read it in the paper. He wants to see it on a sheet of paper because it's so intense coming here without points like he did. The session, you're right, Chris, it is chaotic. The drivers have a lot to do with if you're able to make the race or not, or if you get cut off and get crashed. Whatever goes into it, the driver's hand has a lot. His driver's hands play a lot into it.
Well, you said on the pre-race show, or at least before we began this, hey, your Daytona 500 cars are here. That spells danger. We saw it right away.
Chris, we've seen it right away, you know, with Clint Boyer getting knocked out. But I must say about this new qualifying format, we call it knockout qualifying. Mikey, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Here you had a 4-time champion, Jeff Gordon, saying, I'm on the pole. Finally, I had something to do with it. And then you had Clint Boyer over here and a lot of other great drivers saying, I don't like this. So, you know, if you end up good, you love it. If it goes bad, you hate it.
But how crazy is it? They say go, and everybody
and
stops.
nobody goes.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. That's not in your DNA. Let's head back up to Darrell, Larry, and Mike. Set the grid. Of course, the Budweiser Duel Thursday on Fox Sports 1, the rest of the field. But, Mike, we at least know who that front row is going to be next Sunday.
And that'll be Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. So, 6 drivers from round 3 in this first Budweiser Duel, and on through. There'll be 25 cars to start. Top 15
quite a
make
few
the
happy,
race.
Quite a few happy drivers, particularly 2 on the front row, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. But you just saw Carl Edwards. He's elated. So this worked out very well for some, and others, well, they're going to have some conversations about what happened today.
See Clint Boyer in that 15 car, row 11. He'll be in a backup car when practice gets started on Wednesday.
So that's the lineup for duel race number 1. The top 15 finishers advance to the 500. Duel 2 with outside 500 pole sitter Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth starting on the front row. And again, the top 15 finishers transfer to the 500.
Look at Ty Dillon up there. He's going to start on row 2 in that second Budweiser Duel.
I'm sure the Ford guys are a little disappointed. I know that Ricky Stenhouse particularly, I mean, he led practice there with a 2:02 lap to end up in the 5th row. Probably a little disappointed with that, but it just didn't work out for the Ford guys.
But he'll be guaranteed in on speed to the 500, along with Eric Almirola, Carl Edwards, and Jamie McMurray. Everybody else going to have to race their way in, and we'll have it live for you on Thursday. Chris?
All right, thanks, Mike. And guys, Michael Waltrip, what about the duel? And based on what we've seen today, who needs what and how they play it?
This is the Daytona 500. It's the greatest race in the world, and there's going to be some guys with some real desperation when they crank their engines on Thursday. You thought you saw some moves today that were a little hectic? Wait till Thursday when you know you have to race your way in. You've had qualifying. You know you don't have a fast enough speed. You don't have a provisional to get in if you're some of the drivers. You better race your way in on Thursday.
And what about last year it seemed like it was split with one half having a lot more wrecks than the other? What do they learn from each other in these?
Chris, I can give you my experience. My dear friend Michael Waltrip, it's just a coincidence I'm sitting up here next to you, Michael. Michael gave me the opportunity to drive his car. I made the Daytona 500 in his gold 00 car coming off of turn 4 to the checkered flag. Now, I can tell you one thing. The drivers that are not locked in, they will not sleep every night. My gut was tore out. I told my wife I don't want to go eat. Leave me by myself in my motorhome. I'll watch the ceiling fan go round and round till Thursday.
A few days of nerves until that Budweiser duel Thursday on Fox Sports 1. Different reasons that Jeff Gordon, in his so-long season at his last Daytona 500, is smiling, sitting on the pole for next Sunday. More in a moment. 43-year-old Jeff Gordon signing his name in on another Daytona 500 pole, the second in his career. He's only the 5th driver in the history of qualifying for the Great American Race to surpass 200 miles per hour. His teammates sitting on the front row with him. Coming up tonight on Fox, Mulaney, the season finale, The Simpsons, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers. Whew. On Fox Sports 1, Thursday, Budweiser duel. The pre-race starts at 5 o'clock, the race starting at 7, and that's when we'll set the rest of the field and the order.
We saw Jeff Gordon be patient today to get the pole. If you're going to make the Daytona 500, it's only a 150-mile race. There's no time for patience. You got to go.
Next Sunday right here on Fox, the pre-race show at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, with the 57th running of the Great American Race.
And to make this race, you got to go through the Twin 150s on Thursday, and the way to do it, no mistakes on pit road. You cannot wreck out early. You must come off at turn 4 and see the checkered flag.
And I know we got a couple of big names starting up front, guys who are the champions who've won the Daytona 500, and Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. Remember when Trevor Bayne, 125 to 1 the long shot, won the Daytona 500. So anything can happen. It'll be a week of fun. The Budweiser duel Thursday on FS1. For Kenny Wallace, Michael Waltrip, the entire gang, I'm Chris Spires. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. Have a great week. Stay warm. We'll see you next weekend right here.